At the end of World War II, the entire planet was in shock at the power the United States now held, the power of the nuclear bomb. Now that the US had the bomb, they feared that opposing countries might try to infiltrate the Manhattan Project, the project the US created devoted to nuclear research, especially the USSR, who they were now in the Cold War with. The fear of communist espionage was increased tenfold when the USSR developed its first nuclear weapon in 1949, years before the US thought it would. To protect themselves from espionage, they created the Venona Project, which intercepted and decoded Soviet communications to expose spies. One of the most important spies that they caught was Klaus Fuchs, a German physicist that worked on the British Manhattan Project and provided extremely useful information on the A-bomb to the USSR until his arrest in January 1950. He told the FBI that he gave his information to Harry Gold, who they arrested in May. Harry Gold told the FBI about a David Greenglass, who was another nuclear spy. They then arrested and interrogated him. David Greenglass was a machinist who had worked at Los Alamos, New Mexico, a place where nuclear bombs were designed and tested since 1944. He joined the Communist Party in 1942. He was recruited by his brother-in-law, Julius Rosenberg, his sister's husband, to be an informant of the activities at Los Alamos and to provide sketches and notes on the bomb for the Soviet Union. David Greenglass married Ruth Prince in 1942, who was also a member of the Communist Party. Julius Rosenberg was part of the Communist Party from 1935 to 1943, which is how he met Ethel Greenglass in 1936. Julius was arrested in June 1950 after David identified him as a Soviet spy along with Ethel, who was arrested a month later. Both of them were put on trial for violation of the Espionage Act of 1917 in March 1951 and were sentenced to death in April. They were both executed by electric chair after one last visit from their children. The trial was completely unfair due to multiple factors. Klaus Fuchs got 9 years of prison in the UK for passing information to the USSR that could have advanced their research by almost 2 years. The Rosenbergs were given the death sentence for information that had been said by American and Soviet scientists to be of little consequence and was just confirmation of things they already knew. David Greenglass's testimony was used multiple times against the Rosenbergs and was one of the key pieces of evidence used for their sentence. When he was first brought in, he said that Ruth brought information from David to Julius, but when Ruth was arrested, she said that Ethel had typed up some of the notes given to the USSR. David corroborated the story after asking for immunity for his wife. Because of this, Ethel was also arrested and tried. In 2001, David admitted to the author of the book, The Brother, that "I frankly think my wife did the typing." All this shows that while the Rosenbergs may have been guilty of some espionage, the death sentence was not a fair punishment for them. After the Rosenberg sentencing, David Greenglass made an appeal to President Eisenhower, asking him to reduce their death sentence to prison. His request was denied, and the president responded by saying that the nature of the crime for which they have been found guilty and sentenced far exceeds that of the taking of the life of another citizen. It involves the deliberate betrayal of the entire nation and could very well result in the deaths of thousands of innocent citizens, saying that the Rosenbergs were responsible for the USSR regaining the atomic bomb. The Rosenbergs left behind 2 orphan children, Michael and Robert Rosenberg. After their parents' arrest, they were shuttled between orphanages and relatives, many who didn't want them there due to the controversy surrounding their parents' case, until being adopted by Abel and Ann Mirapol, close friends of their parents. The verdict in the Rosenberg case created protests all over the US and in other countries, but there are still many who agreed with the sentencing. The Red Scare and fear of communism that plagued the United States following the spread of the Soviet Union at the end of World War II caused the outcome of the Rosenberg trial to be unfair and a lasting scar in America's legal system. Since the end of the Second Red Scare, the spread of communism has decreased, but espionage is still the fear in the U.S. today. The fear of espionage still affects judicial decisions. For example, former President Donald Trump's house was recently searched for documents having to do with national security, and the first item on the warrant was violation of the Espionage Act of 1970, the very same act that the Rosenbergs were tried for.